Everything began when the US military tested a new electromagnetic weapon on the coast of Tasmania Island. A serious accident occurred, turning the entire island into a living hell in the blink of an eye. Tens of thousands died on the spot. When the news spread, the whole world was shaken, no different from the case of a few monkeys escaping the Ongo laboratory. At the time the disaster struck, Eva's husband, Mickey, was on a business trip on the island. Initially, everyone thought he certainly didn't survive, but Eva believed her husband's fate was strong, that he surely escaped death. And just like that, a long journey to find the missing husband began. A while later, the plane landed safely. Eva got off the plane, heading toward the reception camp with other victims' families. Before they had gone far, they were asked to hand over their phones. Because there were secrets on the island that could not be revealed, the military didn't want anyone sending news out. To enter the island to find her husband, Eva reluctantly handed over her phone and entered the camp area ahead. There, she saw a crowded group of people, everyone there to find loved ones. Everyone wanted to confirm if their relatives were alive or dead, though hope was very slim. Entering the island required registration and a clear reason. Someone foolishly said straight out they were looking for a missing wife and was immediately dragged away by soldiers. Clearly, such a reason was unacceptable. Eva was quick-witted when asked why she wanted to enter. She stayed calm and lied that she was a volunteer coming to collect bodies and assist with the cleanup after the disaster. In reality, she only wanted to sneak into the area where her husband worked during his trip, whether he was alive or dead. She wanted to see with her own eyes. The first obstacle was passed. Eva thought she could immediately enter the blockaded zone, but the staff said it wasn't possible yet because many parts of the island were still burning. They had to wait until the fires were extinguished before they could collect the corpses. At this point, the military also felt they should reveal some information to reassure people. The person in charge stated that many bodies were indeed deformed, their skin purple like eggplants. And the most horrifying thing was that some corpses seemed to have come back to life. The dead coming back to life. What could be scarier than that? But no one was sure if those who lived again were humans or demons. The person in charge immediately reassured them, saying those dead who lived again were of no concern, moving as slow as snails, showing no reaction even when seeing living people. If encountered, just light a signal flare for the soldiers to come and handle it. There was absolutely no need to worry. Nonetheless, many people still felt something was not right. Eva, for her part, did not want to give up. No matter what, she had to find her husband. Finally, when the fires on the island were completely extinguished, Eva was given a basic toolkit. She set out with the volunteer group to the north of the island, an area considered less dangerous. When all the volunteers had gotten off the vehicle, he immediately asked everyone to split into pairs and quickly get to work. The whole volunteer group was assigned to enter buildings to search for and bring bodies out. Eva was paired with a girl wearing a two-strap top. This girl acted very confident, thinking that finding corpses couldn't be that hard. After making a round on the first floor but finding no one, the girl in the two-strap top ran up to the second floor to continue searching. Meanwhile, Eva noticed a glass of fruit juice still sitting on the dining table. She had a premonition that this family was in the backyard having afternoon tea at the time. She pulled the curtain aside and looked out, stunned to see the whole family of three lying neatly on the grass. While Eva was feeling heartbroken, the girl in the two-strap top walked over, nonchalantly starting to drag their bodies to the door to prepare for the collection team. But precisely at that moment, this seemingly strong person completely broke down, crying out loud and admitting she was only trying to act tough. She said she just wanted to go home and hug her daughter. Not just her, many other volunteers also began to buckle under the pressure. They came here with the mindset that everything would be simple, but reality was too brutal and far beyond their endurance. After being left alone, Eva slumped to the ground, feeling completely helpless. Coincidentally, a long-haired man had also just been abandoned by his partner, so they decided to pair up to continue the body-searching work. This new friend had nerves of steel. He wore no protective gear, and even when seeing a corpse, he didn't even flinch. Eva suspected he used to work in a profession related to handling corpses. She asked if he could stand the smell of rotting flesh that pierced through to the bone. He just laughed, saying the torn mask didn't help at all. Even wearing it wouldn't turn the smell of a corpse into the scent of cherry. They continued their work. When entering the bathroom of a house, Eva discovered two people dead in a bathtub while playing cards, which reminded her of her husband. This further strengthened her determination to find him at all costs. After a tiring work session, the long-haired man went outside to smoke. He was clearly also bearing great pressure, but still constantly tried to work without rest. That day, the two found a body lying on a bed, looking very difficult to move. While pulling it with the bedsheet toward the door, The long-haired man slipped and tumbled over, angrily cursing and then running into the bathroom to find supporting tools. Eva leaned against the wall to rest and suddenly saw a wedding photo, immediately thinking of her husband again. She recalled the sweet moment when both walked down the aisle and swore she would not give up. She must find him. By lunchtime, everyone was eating and chatting. Someone overheard soldiers discussing how to completely destroy the crowd of living dead. But until now, no one in the volunteer group had seen them with their own eyes. Just then, an elderly rich man screamed in pain, "Please don't take my child's body away. Maybe the child can live again." Everyone understood his pain, but they wondered, those who were already rotten and decayed but lived again, would they still be human? After the meal, Eva and the long-haired man continued looking for bodies. While they were working, a piercing scream rang out. Someone had discovered the living dead. Eva rushed out to see and found a volunteer had lit a signal flare. Soldiers immediately entered the house and fired continuously. Eva turned pale with fear, worrying in her heart whether her husband would suffer such a fate. When entering a grocery store to find bodies, she saw unusual footprints on the floor. It seemed like someone or something had moved here. She shone her light forward and discovered a corpse still sitting behind a shelf. The long-haired man did not hesitate, immediately calling the soldiers to handle it. While the soldiers entered the store, Eva waited outside. Every free moment, her mind turned to her husband. She knew she had to quickly find a way to break into the isolation zone. In the days that followed, Eva silently drew a map to plan a stealthy fence crossing. But as she just began her action, she was discovered by another volunteer. She tried to pretend, saying she was bored and wanted to go out for a stroll to ease her mind. But the other person was also there to find a relative, understanding Eva's feelings and true reason very well. They reminded her that the gate area always had guards. Being caught would be very dangerous, so Eva had to turn back. Not giving up, she went to the long-haired man for help. He didn't understand why she insisted on finding a dead person. Eva said that over the past time she had observed the living dead and realized they seemed to retain a part of human consciousness. In their hollow eyes, sometimes a look of pleading and helplessness would flash, as if wanting to be saved. The man initially thought she was delusional and planned to refuse, but seeing her so determined, he couldn't bear it and finally agreed to go with her. Because walking was too slow, they decided they must find a means of transportation. The next day, as soon as it was light, they went to a car repair shop and, fortunately, there was a motorcycle still usable. While the long-haired man was testing the bike, Eva curiously pulled a tarp nearby and was horrified to find 7 or 8 bodies lying slumped and piled on each other. It seemed they had been partying before they died, not expecting the disaster to strike so suddenly and brutally. Right then, a few female corpses began to open their eyes, their pupils entirely a deathly black, without a spark of life. But Eva and the man were completely unaware of what was about to happen. Eva and the long-haired man were studying which way to escape the area. After choosing a suitable route, the man went to find helmets, while Eva was attracted by a strange teeth-grinding sound. Unlike the living dead from before who just stood still with hollow eyes, this time the creature looked at Eva with eyes full of hostility and kept grinding its teeth continuously, looking very unusual. Eva was captivated, standing there staring. The long-haired man returned, not understanding what Eva was doing, and reminded her it was time to withdraw. They quietly pushed the bike through the deserted road. Luckily, no one noticed. Once outside, they quickly started the motorcycle and sped straight toward the isolation zone where Mickey, Eva's husband, used to work. Along the way, desolate scenes appeared. Streets were empty, cars left in the middle of the road, drivers dead for a long time. However, the journey was not as smooth as expected. Not long after, they ran into a military patrol. Both panicked and hid behind a broken car, holding their breath and waiting. During the tension, a figure appeared from behind, a living dead missing half an arm, calmly walking forward, clearly no longer an ordinary person. Afterward, the soldiers destroyed the living dead and left. Eva and the man breathed a sigh of relief for having escaped, confirmed it was safe, then continued on their way. But the closer they got to the isolation zone, the more suffocating the air became. The smell of fire, dust, and rotting flesh mixed together, creating a deathly atmosphere that loomed over. It began to get dark. They were forced to find shelter. When they reached a residential area, both chose a house that was still intact. To thank him for the help, Eva used her massage skills to help the man relax, so he could continue accompanying her on the journey to find her husband. While relaxing, unusual footsteps rang out. A living dead missing one leg was dragging itself toward them. The man still thought that the living dead were not dangerous, but this monster turned out to be aggressive, lunging straight at them like a hungry beast. Fortunately, at the moment of danger, a soldier appeared and shot down the living dead. If he had arrived a bit later, Eva and the man might have lost their lives. The soldier said bluntly that the longer the living dead were left, the more dangerous they became. The only way to stop them was to destroy them completely. He then questioned why they were present in the isolation zone where only soldiers were allowed to enter and exit. Eva spoke honestly, saying they were volunteers collecting bodies and she came here to find her missing husband. The story seemed to touch the soldier. The look in his eyes softened toward her. However, he was still cautious and separated the two for individual questioning. Eva was led into the bathroom. Sitting alone, she thought of her husband again, but this time about the conflicts between them. It turned out that before they parted, they were discussing divorce. A natural question appeared in her mind. Having intended to divorce, why was she still trying to find her husband? Actually, she still loved him. And when recalling that the last time they met was when they talked about divorce, she felt remorseful and regretted it deeply. Right as she was confused, the soldier burst in, panicking to announce that the long-haired man had taken advantage of a lapse in security to drive away. Eva didn't understand why he left, only feeling that she had bothered him too much and sincerely praying for him to return safely. Now in the house, only Eva and the soldier remained. He expressed sympathy and offered to take her to where Mickey used to work, but needed to go home to prepare some things first. Eva thought she had met a good person, so she didn't hesitate to agree. When night fell, the car stopped in front of a house, the soldier's house. He said he was hungry and suggested stopping to rest. Eva followed him inside and was prepared a hearty dinner. But she had no mind for eating or drinking because she only thought of seeing her husband again. When seeing the photo of the soldier's beautiful wife on the wall, she asked him where his wife was now. Hearing that, the soldier showed clear pain. He recounted that when the disaster happened, he was on duty outside, while his wife, Kitty, was pregnant and home alone. When he rushed back, everything was too late. Kitty and the baby boy in her womb were both gone. Saying this, the soldier's voice choked up. He said it took him a very long time to accept this truth. Everyone eventually has to go through life and death separation, so he personally buried his wife and child. Eva felt extremely moved. She hadn't expected the soldier to be such a pitiable person. When he made a small request, hoping Eva would wear his wife's dress and dance one last time with him, Eva didn't hesitate to agree. After preparing, both began to dance to the music. Eva thought of her husband again and silently promised that when they met again, she would definitely say she was sorry. When the dance ended, Eva intended to say goodbye to continue her journey, but suddenly the soldier completely changed his attitude, starting to repeatedly ask about the wedding ring, saying he had clearly just given it to Eva to wear. So why was she wearing a different ring? Eva was terrified, broke away, and ran into the bedroom, locking the door. When she turned around, she was stunned to see the corpse of the soldier's pregnant wife lying on the bed. This made Eva understand clearly that he had never accepted the death of his wife and child, and had even fallen into a state of schizophrenia. The soldier now also realized Eva had seen the corpse. He said, "Do you want to know why only some people live again? Because they still have unfinished business." Hearing this, Eva shuddered and got goosebumps. She thought the military actually knew everything well, but still deliberately hid it. Eva began to fear Kitty, the soldier's wife, would turn into a living dead and attack. So she immediately climbed through the window to escape. She intended to take the car to escape, but the car keys were still on the soldier's person. Eva sneakily went back in to get them, but unfortunately was discovered by him. The two chased each other like a game of cat and mouse. Eva hid in the warehouse. He followed. At this moment, Eva understood that this soldier might have left his unit a long time ago. The fact that he knew the mechanism of resurrection of the living dead was perhaps due to capturing and researching many living dead, hoping to find a rule to resurrect his wife. Facing such a madman, Eva decided to take a gamble. She took off her and Mickey's wedding rings, pretending to be pitiful and saying she lost the ring. The soldier immediately thought Eva was his wife, his voice becoming gentle and saying he would help her find the ring. The two left the warehouse. Eva noticed the car keys were attached right to his belt. She took advantage of hugging the soldier to distract him, skillfully taking the keys. Unbelievably, someone who cried as often as Eva became so hardened. Her reaction left viewers surprised. After getting the keys, she hurried into the car intending to leave, but saw Kitty had come back to life. Fearing the living dead wife would take revenge for her husband, Eva frantically drove away in the night. Waking up the next day, Eva found her car stuck in the middle of the road, not remembering clearly why she had driven here. The car couldn't go further. She was forced to carry an axe and walk to continue the journey to find her husband. As expected, something unexpected happened again. Eva panicked and hid in a nearby bus when being chased by a living dead. The monster wanted to bite her. Eva pleaded for it to spare her life, but to no avail. She was forced to pick up an object nearby to counterattack. Everything became quiet again. Looking at the bloody face of that creature, Eva breathed heavily. Unbelievably, the living dead was not yet dead, so she had to deliver another blow to be certain. When the corpse was truly motionless, she picked up the axe and continued walking. Night began to fall. Eva found an RV and temporarily rested in it. Taking off her shoes, her feet were full of blisters from long-distance walking. But she did not give up. Love was the motivation helping Eva continue. She opened the map, seeing only 10 kilometers left until the place her husband worked. With hope overflowing, she fell asleep. Suddenly, the sound of digging woke her up. In the darkness, someone was shoveling dirt out there. Eva held the axe and quietly went out to investigate. Unexpectedly, it was a living dead. Even stranger, it was digging a grave. After finishing the digging, it carefully placed the body of a dead relative into the hole, as if burying them. Having finished, it also laid down in the grave as if wanting to reunite with the family. Eva stepped forward to help. Seeing papers on the ground, she picked them up to look and fell into memories of sweet moments with her husband again. When she snapped out of it, she saw the living dead looking at her with eyes full of hope, then turning its face away as if waiting for something. Eva understood what it wanted, a complete ending. She picked up the shovel to help it complete its wish. Eva had fulfilled the duty of a human being. She buried that entire family and even placed a family photo on the grave as a warm farewell. Finally, after so many hardships, Eva reached the place her husband used to work. She excitedly stepped into the building when suddenly she heard a roar. Turning her head, she saw a living dead lunging forward with a bloodthirsty look. It seemed to want to eat Eva alive, but she didn't care. The only important thing now was to find her husband. Eva carefully searched every room, but all were empty. She guessed that the people who used to be here had all turned into living dead and left to find food. Just then, Eva's eyes were drawn to a door with a nameplate, a habit only her husband had. She did not hesitate, immediately pushing the door open and entering. The good news was she found Mickey, her husband, but the bad news was he was no longer a living person. Although Mickey's body was full of horrifying dark decayed spots, Eva did not feel disgusted or back away. She intended to find him a proper resting place. But while examining items in the room, woman's intuition told her things were not as simple as she thought. She realized Mickey had taken off his wedding ring. On the table were also identification papers of the female living dead she had previously encountered. So Mickey's business trip was only an excuse for a secret date. Only now did Eva understand why her husband previously often argued and even talked about divorce. It turned out all was because of another woman. She felt her entire journey full of hardships had suddenly become a joke. Eva screamed, demanding that Mickey, even though dead, must give her an explanation. But he just lay there in silence. Finally, Eva collapsed, kneeling beside her husband's body and crying bitterly. Suddenly someone called her name. She thought it was Mickey, but looking up she saw it was the long-haired man. After escaping from the hands of the mad soldier, he had wrestled with his inner self, but finally decided to come back to find and protect Eva. Now that Mickey had been found, Eva was both sad and happy. Both sat by the seashore sharing their feelings. The long-haired man confessed he came here not to find a relative, nor because he wanted to die, but to prove to the mother who always looked down on him that he was not a useless person who only knew how to smoke and drink, that he could also contribute to society. After knowing the truth that she was betrayed, her mood changed strongly. She realized she shouldn't waste tears on a jerk. To blow off steam, she and her new friend found a swimming pool and played in the water, forgetting all troubles. However, while they were having fun, a living dead appeared again. Eva did not hesitate. She rushed over and smashed its head immediately. The next day, Eva had completely come to her senses. She understood that she shouldn't waste feelings on a betrayer. She took off the wedding ring she had protected throughout the journey, tied Mickey's corpse to a boat, and pushed it far away, as if wanting him to get the hell as far away as possible. However, due to concerns that the corpse might resurrect or carry pathogens, both decided to burn Mickey's corpse to avoid future consequences. After that, they planned to leave the island to start a new life. But on the way, they were blocked by a living dead. The long-haired man told Eva to just hit the gas and drive over it. But she stepped on the brake because she felt the creature in front had no ill intent. She saw the back of its dress was covered in blood, and from nearby came the cry of a newborn baby. Eva immediately understood what was happening, running toward the direction of the cry and finding a newborn baby that the living dead had just given birth to. The man took off his coat to wrap the child and check. It was a completely normal, healthy baby. That truly was a miracle. The movie ends here. This movie broke the common mold of the Living Dead genre. The zombies here were no longer soulless monsters, but became symbols for people who have died but cannot yet rest, the embodiment of attachments that the living have not let go. Living people could not accept the departure of loved ones full of regret because they didn't have time to say goodbye. From that, they imagined living dead who could feel, who could resurrect. Zombies now carry within them regret, still clinging to a life they cannot transcend. But over time, the deeper the attachment, the more dangerous it becomes. The living dead become increasingly frenzied, not only threatening others, but also destroying themselves. The movie skillfully shows the consequences of not letting go, turning grief into a tangible threat. Though it has a deeply artistic style and does not use scare elements as the center, it is the depth in approach and the humanistic message that make the film valuable. Instead of scaring the audience, the film makes viewers moved and reflective. A rare work in the horror genre. If you love this analysis, please subscribe to the channel. Your support is the greatest motivation for me. See you next time.